No vídeo de hoje eu estou saindo um pouco das playlists que eu estou construindo aqui no canal, tá bom? Porque eu preciso ler um texto em língua inglesa para entender sobre um trabalho que eu preciso em dupla fazer daqui a uns dias. E aí eu já estou usando o canal para isso mesmo, para tentar praticar, porque uma coisa que eu tenho percebido é que está faltando conteúdo, na verdade nem tem 3 vídeos só sobre língua inglesa, e a minha faculdade de letras é uma dupla licenciatura em língua portuguesa e inglesa. Eu não gravo as coisas em inglês porque eu não me sinto confortável ainda, sabe? Mas eu tenho que melhorar isso aqui no canal e talvez hoje esse seja um dos primeiros vídeos. Então eu vou fazer a leitura na íntegra mesmo desse texto que eu preciso ler, ter ele lido para a próxima aula, inclusive. Então será um vídeo bem longo e bora lá, vamos ver o que é que sai, vamos ver se eu consigo desenvolver a língua inglesa, né, pelo menos na leitura. Okay, in this video I'm gonna try to read a specific text in English, okay? Because I have a subject called methodology of the teaching of English, metodologia do ensino de língua inglesa. How can I say this in English? Methodology of English, I think. I don't know. Esqueci de falar isso em português. Esse aqui é um texto que eu vou ler de uma disciplina, que eu preciso fazer o trabalho, né? De uma disciplina chamada Metodologia do Ensino de Língua Inglesa, tá bom? Eu tô fazendo esse semestre, vou produzir um vídeo sobre essa matéria quando eu concluir ela no semestre que vem, eu faço um vídeo sobre ela. Agora não, porque eu tô tendo ela, tô no 4º período de letras, né? Essa é uma matéria do 4º período. And so, today I'm gonna try to read this specific text, and the title of the text is Multiply Intelligences. The chapter 12. I don't want to say the name of the book here because I just want to train, okay? To train. Introduction. A feature of language learning classroom in the diversity of learners who are often studying in the same class. Diversity refers to the many ways in which learners may differ from one another. They may differ on their motivations for learning English, their beliefs about how best to learn a language, the kinds of strategies they favor, and their preference for different kinds of teaching methods of classroom activities. Language teaching has often been based on the assumption that one size fits all, and some of the teaching approaches and the methods described in this book reflect this view of learners. The learner's role in learning has been predetermined and planned in advance, and the learner's role is to adapt him or herself to the method, such as this case with methods such as the Silent Way, chapter 16, and the Suggestopedia, chapter 18. More recent approaches to language teaching seek to acknowledge the differences learners bring to learning. Learners are viewed as possessing individual learning styles, preferences, and strategies, and these influence how they approach classroom learning and the kinds of learning activities they favor or learn most effectively from. Pedagogy enhances assumed to be more useful when these learner differences are analyzed for particular groups or learners and accommodate on teaching. In both general education and language teaching, a focus on individual differences has been a recurring theme in the last 40 years or so, as seen in such movements or approaches in individualized instruction, autonomous learning, learner training, and learner strategy. See chapter 19. The theory of multiplying intelligences share a number of commonalities with these early proposals. Multiplying intelligences, EMI, refers to a learned-based philosophy that characterizes human intelligence as having multiple dimensions that must be acknowledged and developed development in education. Traditional intelligence or IQ, intelligence quotient tests are based on a test called the Stanford Binet, founded on the idea that intelligence in a single unchanged inborn capacity. However, traditional IQ tests, while still given to the most school children, are increasingly being challenged by the MIY movement. MIY is based, MIY, I think, multiple, MIY is based on the work of Howard Gardner of the Harvard Graduate School of Education, Gardner 1993. Gardner notes that traditional IQ tests measure only logic and language, yet the brain has other equally important types of intelligence. Gardner argues that all humans have this intelligence, but people differ on the strength and the combination of intelligences. He believes that all of them can be enhanced through training and practice. MIY thus belong to a group of instructional perspective that focus on difference between learners and the need to recognize difference in teaching. It was the page 230. Let's start to read the page 231. Let's see. Just a moment. Page 231. Gardner, 1993, proposed a view of natural human talent that is labeled the multiply intelligences model. This model is one of a variety of learning style models that have been proposed at general education and have subsequently been applied to language teaching. Gardner claims that his view of intelligence is culture-free and avoids the conceptual norms usually associated with traditional modes of intelligences. Gardner originally posited 80 native intelligences, which are described as follows. Okay, the 80 native intelligence proposed by Gardner are: number 1, linguistic, the ability to use language in special and creative ways, which in something like lawyers, writers, editors, and interpreters are strong natives. Number 2, the intelligent number 2, logical, mathematical, the ability to think rationally, often found with doctors, engineers, programmers, and scientists. The intelligence number 3, special, the ability to form mental models of the world, something architects, or decorators, sculptors, and painters are good at. Intelligence number 4, musical, having a good ear for music, is strong as singers and composers. Intelligence number 5, bodily kinesthetic, having a well-coordinated body, something found in athletes and crab persons. Preciso de água. Intelligence number 6, interpersonal, the ability to able to work well with people, which is strong in sales people, politicians, and teachers. Sorry. Intelligence number 7, intrapersonal, the ability to understand oneself and apply one's talents usefully, which leads to happy and well-adjusted people in an areas of life. And the last one, the intelligence number 8, naturalist, the ability to understand and organize the patterns of nature. Okay, it was the eighth intelligence, the eighth native intelligence of Gardner. Let's see the sequence of text. He later suggests a ninth intelligence is existential intelligence, a concern with philosophical issues such as the status of making a relation to universal existence. In learning situations, you need to see the big picture in order to understand minor learning at points of detail. Armstrong, 1999, introduced the following convenient memory tags for each intelligence. Memory tags. Intelligence number 1, linguistic intelligence, word smart. Logical mathematical intelligence, number reasoning smart. Visual spatial intelligence, picture smart. Bodily kinesthetic intelligence, body smart. Musical intelligence, music smart. Interpersonal intelligence, people smart. Intrapersonal intelligence, self smart. Naturalist intelligence, nature smart. Existentialist intelligence is existence smart. All learners are believed to have a personal intelligence profile, so-called MIUI profiles, that consist of combination of different intelligence types, and for some intelligence to be more highly developed than others, hence favor on a particular approaches to learning. Okay, it was the page 231. Now I have to start the page 232. To learning, okay. Christensen 25 suggested that the most people are believed to have a few intelligence that are highly developed, mostly developed, and one of to develop it. Several checklists have been developed to enable people to identify their personal MIUI profile, such as McKinsey Multiply Intelligence Survey 1990, which requires potential test takers to take statements they agree with all the total of statements, which are grouped out into 90 sections, then statement for each section, each representing of the Gardner's 9 intelligence types. Skeptics might question the reliability of such a crude measure of these complex qualities of human cognitions. When it was first proposed, the idea of multiply intelligence attracted the interest of the many educators as well as the general public. School began to use MIUI theory to encourage learning that goes beyond traditional books, pen, and pencils. Teachers and parents were encouraged to recognize their learners' children, particular gifts and talents, and to provide learning activities that build on those inherent gifts. As a result of strength training, such different individuals would be free to be intelligent in their own ways. Okay, it was the introduction of this text, 13 minutes. Now, let's see the next subtitle, approach. Theory of language. MIUI theory, I don't know if the pronunciation or the abbreviation multiply intelligence, I don't know if the correct is MIUI, I don't know, sorry. MIUI theory was originally proposed by Gardner 1993 as a contribution to cognitive science. Oh, okay, it's an important information here, because we have a lot of schools of psychology, and on this contribution from Gardner is about cognitive science, ciência cognitiva. Fairly early on, it was interpreted by some general educators such as Armstrong, 1994, as a framework for rethinking school education. Some schools in the United States have indeed remade their educational programs around the MIUI model. Application of MIUI in language teaching have been more recent, so it is not surprising that MIUI theory lacks some form of the basic elements that might light it more directly to language education. Only issues as the lack of the concrete view of how my theory relates to an existence language, and language learners' theories that attempts have been made to establish outlines. It's certainly unfair to say that MIUI proposes local languages for one individual, including one or more second languages not at all at their own, and somewhere skill but as central to the role life that language learns to use. In this sense, language is how to be integrated with music, bodily activity, interpersonal relationships, and so on. Language is not seen as limited to linguistic perspective, but encompasses all aspects of communication. Language, okay, the next topic, subtitle, theory of learning. Language learning and use are obviously closely linked to what MIUI theorists label linguistic intelligence. However, MIUI proponents believe there is more to language than what is usually assumed under the rubric linguistics. There are aspects of language such as rhythm, tone, volume, and pitch that are more closely linked, say, to a theory of music than to a theory of linguistics. Other intelligence reaches the tapestry of communication we call language. In addition, language has its ties to life, though the sense provides the accompaniment and a context to the linguistic message that give its meaning and purpose. A multisensory view of language is necessary. It's seen to construct an adequate theory of language, as well as the effective design for language learning. Now I am on the page 233. Therefore, the theory of learning might be learning holistic sense. We learn through our sense. A widely accepted but divergent view of intelligence is that intelligence, however measured in whatever circumstance, comprises in a single factor, usually called the G factor. From this point of view, intelligence G can be described as this ability to deal with cognitive complexity. The vast majority of intelligence researchers take this find for granted. One popular explication for this view see intelligence as a hierarchy, with G and the apex of the hierarchy. The view of Gardner of some of cognitive scientists contrasts markedly with the view that intelligence is based on a unitary of general ability for problem solving. In the Gardner view, there exists a cluster of mental abilities that are separate but equal, and that share the pinnacle at the top of the hierarchy. How can I say this word in English? Hierarchy, called intelligence. Thus, the 8 multiply intelligence that Gardner has described. One way of looking at the learning theoretical argument is to apply the logic of the single factor model to the multiply intelligence. Multiply intelligence's model, the single factor correlates higher intelligence with greater speed and efficiency of neural processing. That it's the higher of the factor individual, the greater speed and efficiency of that individual brain performing cognitive operation. If there is not just one eye but several, then one can assume that future neural processes will be greater when a particular is is most fully exercised. That is, if a language learner has a high music intelligence in the person, will learn most quickly when the content is embedded in a musical frame. Baumgarten described the influence of particular intelligence of language learning, an account that seems to identify difference in intelligence as difference in learning styles. Okay, approach about theory of language and theory of learning. Now, we're gonna see about the design objectives. There are no goals stated for MUI instruction in linguistic terms. MUI pedagogy focuses on the language class as the setting for a series of educational support systems aimed at making the language learner a better designer or his or her own language experience. Such a learner is both better empowered and more fulfilled than a learner in traditional classrooms. A more goal-directed learning and happier person is held to be a likely candidate for being a better second language learner and user. The syllables. Also, there is no syllables as such, either prescribed or recommended in respect to MUI-based language teaching, although in the MUI perspective we can combine with virtually an approach or method, I don't know. However, there is a basic developmental sequence that has been proposed as an alternative to what we have to elsewhere considering as type of syllables design. The sequence consisting of 4 stages. Stage number 1, awaken the intelligence through multisensory experience, touching, smelling, tasting, seeing, and so on. Learners can be sensitized to the many factor properties of objects and events, the world that's all around them. Stage number 2, amplify the intelligence. Students strengthen and improve the intelligence by volunteering objects and events of their own choosing and defining with others the properties and context of experience of these objects and events. Stage number 3, teach with for the intelligence. Is at this stage the intelligence is like to the focus of the class. That is so some aspect of language learning. This is one via worksheets and small groups, projects and discussion. Stage number 4, transfer of the intelligence. Students reflect on the learning experience of the previous 3 stages and relate this to issues and challenges in the out-of-class world. Types of learning and teaching activities. MUI has been applied in many different types of classroom. In some, there are 8 self-access activity corners. Each corner built around one of the 8 of 9 intelligence. Students work alone or in pairs. Students work alone or in pairs on intelligence focus or their own choosing. Nelson, 1988, page 33, describes how MUI can be used to individualize learning through project work. She lists 5 types of project. Number 1, multiply intelligent projects. They are based on one of or more of the intelligence and are designed to stimulate particular intelligences. Number 2, curriculum-based projects. They are based on curriculum content areas but are categorized according to the particular intelligence that make use of. Number 3, thematic-based project. They are based on a theme from the curriculum or classroom but are divided into the different intelligences. Okay, number 4, research-based projects. They are designed to provide students with opportunities to research a topic using multiple intelligences. Topic number 5, students' choice projects. They are designed by the students and draw on particular intelligence. In other more fully teacher-fronted classroom, the students move through a cycle on activities highlight use different intelligence in those activities that the teacher has chosen and orchestrated. Some suggested that the use of MUI profiles enable teachers to select activities that match learners' profiles. For example, linguistic intelligence, word building games. Let's see these examples to teach, to use the MUI theory in classroom. For example, linguistic intelligence, word building games, logical mathematical intelligence, logical sequential presentations, visual spatial intelligence, mind maps, bodily gymnastic intelligence, relation exercise, music intelligence, jazz chants, interpersonal intelligence, brainstorming, intrapersonal intelligence, learning diaries, natural intelligence, background music in the form of sounds created in the nature world. Learning activities are often suggested in a table in which a particular intelligence is paired with possible activities used for working with the intelligent in class. Such a table is reproduced in table 12.1. Table 12.1. Taxonomy of language learning activities for multiple intelligences. Linguistic intelligences. Lecture, student speeches, small and large group discussion, storytelling, books, debates, worksheets, journal keeping, word games, memorizing, listening to cassette or taking books, using word processors, publishing and creating a class newspaper or collection of writing. Logical, mathematical intelligence, scientific demonstration, logic problems and puzzling, science think, logical sequential presentation or subject matters, creating codes, story problems or calculation. Spatial intelligence, charts, maps, diagrams, videos, slides, moves, art and other pictures, imagination, storytelling, graphic organizers, telescopes, microscopes, visual annual activities, visualization, photography, using mind maps, painting or collages, optical illusion, student drawing. It's the intelligence of spatial intelligence. Number 4. Number 1, number 2, okay. Number 3, number 4. Body kinesthetic intelligence, creativity, movement, model, cooking and another mass activities, role plays, hands-on activities, field trips, miming. Musical intelligence, playing musical intelligence, playing recorded music, playing live music, piano, guitar, music presentation, student-made instruments, singing, group and singing, mood music, jazz chants. Interpersonal intelligence, strategies, cooperative groups, peer teaching group, brainstorm, conflict mediation, board games, pair work. Intrapersonal intelligence, independent student work, individualized projects or passion for homework, inventories and checklist, personal journal keeping, self-teaching, programmed instruction, reflective learning, journal keeping, direction center, self-steering journals, goal settings. The following The following list summarizes several alternative views as to how the MUI models can be used to serve the needs of language learners with a classroom writing that may serve as an choice in appropriate learning activities. Play to strength. If you want an athlete or a musician or studying having some of those talents to be involved in a successful language learning structure, the learning material for each individual or similar group of individual around this strength. Variety and in the spice, I don't know, providing a teacher and director which mix of learning activities variously, calling up on their 8 different intelligence making for an interesting, lively, effective classroom for the students. Pick a to suit to be job. Language has a variety of dimensions, levels, and a function that these different facets of language are best served instructionally by liking their learning to the most appropriate kind of MUI activity. Okay, activity, okay. Page 237. All size fit one. Every individual exercises all intelligence, even though some of these may be out of averance of undervalued pedagogy that appeals to all the intelligence, speaks to the role person in always that more unaffected approach do not, and a MUI approach help to develop to the role person with each learned with best per service the person language learning requirements as well. Me and my people, I keep testing how to be badly biased in favor of Western view of intelligence, but cultures may value the intelligence more than the one measured in IQ testing. Science language learning involves culture learning as well. It was useful for language learner to study language in a context that recognizes and honors a range of diversely valued intelligences. Each of these views has strength and weakness, some of theoretical, some of pedagogical, and some of practical nature. It's saying that potential MUI teachers need to consider each of these possible application of MUI theory in light of their individual teaching situation. Let's see what time is on. What time is it? Okay. Learner roles. Learner need to see. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Okay, it's the last page that I'm gonna read in this night on this video, and tomorrow I'm gonna continue the reading, the practice of reading of this text tomorrow. Okay. Now I have to read just just to have to finish this page, the page 237. Learner roles. Learners need to see themselves engaged in a process of personality development above the beyond that being successful language learners. The MUI classroom is one designed to support development of the role person, and the environment and its activities are intended to enable students to become more well-rounded individual and more useful learners in general. Learners are encouraged to see their goals in these broader terms. Learners are typically expected to take on a MUI inventory and to develop their own MUI process files based on the inventory. The more awareness students have of their intelligence and how they work, the more they will know how to use that intelligence to access the necessary information and knowledge from a lesson. All of this is to enable learners to benefit from instructional approaches by reflecting on their own learning. Okay, the last one text that I'm gonna read in this part of video, okay, teacher roles. Campbell, 1997-19, notes that MUI theory is not prescriptive. Rather, it gives teacher a complex mental model from which to construct a curriculum and improve themselves as educators. And as well, teachers are expected to understand, master, and be committed to the MUI model. Teachers are encouraged to administer and MUI inventory on themselves and their ability to be able to connect your life's experiences to your conceptual multiply intelligences. Teachers then become curriculum developers, lesson designers, and analyzed activities finders or inventors, and the most critically orchestrators of a rich array of multisensory activities within the realistic contracts on time, space, and research of the classroom. The last paragraph. The teachers are encouraged not to think of themselves merely as language teachers. They have a role that is not only to improve the second language abilities of their students, but also to become major contributors to the overall development of students' intelligences. Okay, today I'm gonna stop here. What is the page? Let's write here, because I don't want to forget. The page that I have to proceed to continue the next night is 238, okay? The role of instructional materials. And I have to read the page 238, the page 209, okay? 239, okay. And 240. And just 3 or 4 for, let's see, 1 page, 2 page, 3 pages, 4 pages, 5 pages. Yes, 5 pages, okay? Bye bye. Let's proceed, or let's continue the reading this text, this specific text about the multiply intelligence, okay? And I have to read the page number 238, 39, 40, and 41 and 42. Let's start. The next video, the last video, I said the abbreviation of multiply intelligences, MUI, but I think it's wrong, because MUI, it's the way that you say the pronunciation of the operational system of the Xiaomi, the mobile phone. But I think here, the abbreviation, the correct pronunciation, I think as MI, I don't know. Okay, the page 238, role of instructional materials. Where MI is richest is in proposals for lens organization, multisensory activity planning, and in using real. There are also now a number of reports of actual teaching experiences from MI perspective that are both teacher-friendly and candidate in their reportage activities and their materials that support and resemble the taxonomy from Christensen's shown in table 12 and above, because MI requires significant creativity on the part of the teacher. It may not always be possible to find appropriate activities in published materials. Thus, one of the challenges of MI is extensive planning and the time necessary to prepare appropriate classroom activities. Procedure. MI-based lessons may vary a great deal, but several examples are offered of how one might be prepared. Baumberg describes the following procedures that can be used. Assuming that you are going to teach in a given topic to a group of foreign language learners, select the topic to be taught, such as shopping at Zoom, flowers, etc., and make sure that you have a specific learner group in mind, for example, beginners, intermediate level learners, or advanced learners. Write down the topic on a large sheet of paper and draw a circle around it. If possible, set up detailed teaching goals. Make notes of all tasks, text exercises, visual aids, classroom activities, and songs that relate to the given topic, and teaching goals that you come to think of. It does not matter at this stage whether some of them appear unrealistic or impractical. Arrange your ideas and according to the intelligence type that, in your opinion, each task, text, exercise, visual aid, classroom activities, song, etc. will be most suitable for. If you are a visual spatial person, you may want to draw 9 new circles around the central circle and draw lines from the central circle to each of the new circles. Label the new circles according to each intelligence and write down each task, text, exercises, visual aid, classroom activity, and songs into the appropriate circles. If you feel that you have no more fresh ideas, read thought that very practical teaching suggestions listed on the Literacy Works website, multiplying intelligences for adult literacy and education for the various intelligences. Make notes of the one that appeal to you and might fit into your lesson. After a while, taking it overall, looking at your sheet of paper. Are there any activities that can be combined? Are there activities that can be modified to fulfill the teaching goals more efficiently? Are there activities that do not seem at all suitable for the present purpose? To wrap things up, arrange and, if needed, arrange the main ideas and activities into a lesson outline that is logical and fulfills the teaching goals of purpose lesson. Make sure that your lesson caters for all of the 9 multiple intelligences. Page 239. Christensen describes a low-level language lesson dealing with description of physical objects. As explained below, the lesson plan recapitulates the sequence described either in the syllable sections. This particular lesson is seen as giving students opportunities to develop determining which object is being described, visual spatial intelligence, for example, determining how to describe things, interpersonal intelligence, for example, working in groups, intrapersonal intelligence, for example, reflecting one-on-one involvement in the lesson. Stage 1. Stage 1. Awakening the intelligence. The teacher brings many different objects to class. Students experience feeling things that are soft, raw, cold, smooth, and so on. They might test things that are sweet, salty, sour, spice, and so on. Experience like help to activate the make learners aware of the sensory basis and of experience. Stage number 2. Amplified intelligence. Students are asked to bring objects to class or to use something in their possessions. Teams of students describe each object attending to the 5 physical senses. They complete a worksheet including the information they have observed and skills. Stage number 3, teach with for the intelligence. At this stage, the teacher structures large sections of lessons so as to reinforce and emphasize sensory experience in the language thus accompanies this experience. Students work in groups, perhaps completing a worksheet such as that shows in table 12.3. Stage number 4, transfer of the intelligence. This stage is concerned with application of the intelligence to daily living. Students are asked to reflect about the content of the lesson in its operational procedures, working in groups, completing table, etc. And here we have a table describing the names of the names of teams, the numbers, the site, and I have to go now. And the final part of this text is about the conclusion, and I'm gonna to record this in the next video. For today is it.